Sexsmith home. My name is Giselle Sexsmith, and I am joining you all the way from the United States of America. I am in Stuart, Florida, and I was thrilled when the company asked me to join this fantastic event, the Pacific Convention 2020. I know this was supposed to be a geographical event in a big venue, and the pandemic hit and everybody adapted. And here we are, Zoom to Zoom, and we're doing this every day, and we have really learned to do things in a different way. But you know what? It's an amazing thing that I can, all the way from my home in Stuart, welcome all of you from all over the world and have a couple of minutes to share with you. It's really wonderful. Thank you, Nu Skin. You know, I believe you are in the right place at the right time with a company that's really been a force for good in the world and continues to be. I remember in 1985 when my husband John's no longer with us. It's almost going to be 3 years since he passed away. But if he was here and he was standing next to me, he would be sharing with you the passion he had for the future. How amazing the way the things are today and the way the company is adapting to become such an incredible company in the world. You know, in 1988, John and I attended an event that was in a venue in California. It was the first, maybe the second United States convention. In 1988, the company was not international yet. It was just an United States company. And we're there. And at the beginning, the founder and first president of Nu Skin, Blake Roney, dear friend, he said a couple of things at that convention that really touched me and John. And as a result of that, John made some very personal choices and decisions that as a businessman at the time made sense to him. And it's important that as you go through this event, you might relate to something you already heard or something that someone will say, and that will trigger something like it did for John and I. And you know, at that time in 1988, what Blake said was that this company, Nu Skin, was at a certain position in the economic world where, if I remember correctly, the company was going to grow from 50 million to 500 million or something like that. It really doesn't matter, the numbers. What happened was that John made a connection between what Blake said and him and our family. John was born and raised in a poor family in Canada, and he was an entrepreneur. When I married him, I was 26 years old, and he had built big businesses. He moved me into a beautiful home in Coral Gables, and in 1980, President Carter was the president of the United States, and economically, the United States went through some very tough times, and we lost everything. And the reason I want to tell you this is because John was a businessman. John had some business principles that when he took the information from the Nu Skin company as a businessman, it made sense to him. John wanted always to give me what his mother never had. He wanted to give our children what his siblings never had. And I will promise you this, John Sexsmith outdid himself. And it happens to be that it was when he found the Nu Skin company. So 1979, we got married. We had our ups and downs in businesses. And in 1985, a dear friend of John called him, and he said something very specific. He said, John, I think I found a way you can hit your financial home run. They knew each other for years. They had made money together. They had lost money together. And he knew that John Sexsmith was an entrepreneur and was looking for a way where he could hit his financial home run. So when he said that, John said, okay, how much money do I have to come up with? And it was funny because he said, no, you don't need to come up with money, but you need to come and sit in front of me and I have to show you something. And it was so compelling to John that he flew all the way from a business trip that he had been in Canada. I picked him up at the airport in Miami and we went to listen to a presentation. At the end of the presentation, the information made sense to John, and John picked up what at the time in 1985 was called a Nu Skin distributor agreement. And he enrolled himself into the company. And when he came upon a line that said, for your spouse to sign here, I was so confused. I didn't know what he was asking me to sign. And I don't know what was in my head, but I said, over my dead body, you're bringing this home. I didn't understand it. Well, John, being the entrepreneur he was, from 1985 to 1986, he went ahead and followed the targets that the compensation program listed at the time. And there were certain things that, as a businessman, made sense to John. There was something called the letter of intent. And in November, at the end of November of 1985, when he read that paper, he said to his friend, he said, we need to do this letter of intent. And his friend said, John, maybe you should wait until January when everything just is organized. Now the holidays are here. And John said, you can wait until January, but I can't. I need to make money now. I'm doing this. And that's the way John Sexsmith, as an entrepreneur, as a businessman, made decisions. So he went ahead and did that. John understood the power of networks. And he himself had a network of entrepreneurs. There were about 25 of them, and they all shared with each other. If one found an incredible business opportunity, they would call each other and they would share them. So before the end of November, John had already enrolled with the Nu Skin company, or I should say, they enrolled with Nu Skin, those friends of John. And John decided to build the business with the company. Well, I really didn't understand what John was doing. All I knew is I kept John talking about incredible products. And as a businessman, John believed that if a businessman came in contact with a product that created a satisfied consumer, that business person had the possibility of creating a business for himself and his family. But John always said that if that business person came in contact with a product that had uniqueness, patent, that was proprietary, then that business person had a better opportunity to create a better business. And then he added to that, if by chance you find those two things, plus you add that the product could create an emotional result with the consumer and create a visual result so the person could get comments on how good they look or whatever, that business person probably had the possibility of creating a business that would last a very long time. And here I am. I'm 65 and the mother of 5, the grandmother of 6, soon to be 7. There's 4 girls. Right now, there's 2 boys and 1 coming at the end of June, beginning of July. So I will share with you that in that life where Nu Skin became that vehicle, that business that allowed the Sexsmith family to really improve our lives, and as a result, share with others that wanted to improve their lives as well. And we have become a friendship around the world. So what is a Puerto Rican girl, an island girl, sitting in the United States addressing a Pacific convention? It had to do with the power of the networks. My dear friends Cindy and Dan DeMay, they are the first level to the line that connects me to the Pacific. Yeah, you probably already know Sophie and Graham. You saw them presenting couple of nights ago. And then, of course, you saw Laura Call, where Laura Call, her father, is the man that I learned from. And her father, at that time, knew that person that called John. So the power of the network is such that it is the people that connect us. So it happened to be that through Chris and Carol Pollack, that were business owners in Florida at the time when New Zealand was going to open, Chris and Carol said, there's a man from New Zealand that's interested in when Nu Skin opens New Zealand. And I remember the very first time Giselle Sexsmith went to New Zealand to meet Jeff. That was an experience. He loved it, totally loved it. And he said to me one time, he said, Giselle, I don't know how Jeff is going to do this business in New Zealand. It seems to be that there's more sheep than people there. But you know, Jeff, as a businessman, he figured it out. Well, guess what? Sophie and Graham, those people that you just listened to, they happen to be in Jeff's first level. So the power of the network is what Giselle Sexsmith understood, that connected us and allows an island girl from Puerto Rico to still today, 35 years later, receive revenue from, I think last month, the company computed between all the consumers, all the businesses around the world, I think our account received commissions from 49 different countries. Now, this is an incredible, amazing thing for me, because now at 65, you could say, I'm the founder of our account. And because our business has gone now into our son's ability to grow the business, now we are seeing the possibility that these grandchildren that are being born one day can also get involved and continue to grow the business as Nu Skin continues to renew the opportunities again and again. So I mentioned New Zealand, but I did not mention Australia, and I did not mention Singapore. And I will tell you that the friends, the leaders, the business people that are connected to our account as a result of John doing the business, understanding the power of networks. Our friendship goes beyond those geographical boundaries. I travel the world, and my children travel the world in a way that no tourist travels the world. We travel the world with friends. We travel the world. My Nina is the girl that was 7 months old when John signed that agreement. And she's the mother of that month-old baby that was just recently born. And she will tell you that her first trip to Australia, when she was 8 years old, and when the Anderson family treated my daughter like their own granddaughter or their own daughter, impacted her so much that even though Nina has traveled the world, to this day she says, Mom, those stars in Perth, Australia are the most magnificent thing. And you know what? We used to go to Perth and do amazing things with the business owners of their own Nu Skin business there. And those friends have stayed friends for decades. And to me, that is something that Giselle Sexsmith understood, that the power of the network is so important when it comes to establishing yourself in an account with the Nu Skin company. And whether you come today as a consumer, or you come today as an affiliate, or you come today as a leader, know that this company will continue to renew the opportunity and adapt. And whether it's Zoom or in a venue where we share experiences, I am so glad to have been here with you and join you in this incredible Pacific convention. Thank you so much. Have a great one.